Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel today. It's Mari here and I'm going to be doing some creating in my memory planner today using some products from Studio Light. All of the products that I'm going to use today are linked in the description box below to Ecstasy Crafts. This is a store that carries the full Studio Light collections, and the links in the description box are affiliate links. So if you do shop using those links, I get a small commission at no extra cost to you. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button that's down in the corner there if you want to see more, and the notification bell to be notified of future videos. So what I have on my desk here is a bunch of products from the Grunge collection, the most recent Artist Atelier collection from the Grunge line, as well as some scrapbooking papers from the Essentials planner scrap collection. Love these papers. Definitely a really kind of a vintage, grungy vibe to the things that I'm going to be showing you here today. So I'm not going to use everything I'm going to show you, but I wanted to show you some of the things that are part of the Artist Atelier collection that even though I'm not using them today, I just want to show you because they coordinate with a lot of the other products I will be using. So I'm going to start off by showing you a couple of die sets I'm going to use today. This one here is really super fun. This one is SLGR-CD24. Like I said, I will link to this in the description box. And it just allows you to create this really fun little interactive pull tab pocket for your project. And here you can see that it hole punches it. There's some faux stitching here. And then of course this pull tab allows you to use this as an interactive element. I'm not going to use this specific one. This is just a sample that I cut from some scrap white cardstock just to for the purpose of showing how that die works. So that is really, really cool. I'm also going to be using this die set here in my project today. This one is SLGR-CD25. What this does for you is it not only cuts your planner page, but it also allows you to do a little bit of detail cutting. So there's two dies to this set, and the second die cuts out numbers and letters as detail on the side of your page. So this is super fun. I have created a page here on YouTube already with this, and this is what you get when you die cut that out. So really, really super cool. So you can use just the page die, or you can also use it in combination with this piece. You could also use this piece on a page without using the outer page die as well. So lots of fun ways that you could use that. I'm going to show you some of the papers that I'm going to be using today from this collection, or I'm going to show you all the papers I'm going to be using. There are more papers in this collection than what I am going to be using here today. So this is the Essentials Planner Scrap Collection, SLPES Scrap 26. Love this side. It's just all full of vintage paraphernalia, or sorry about that, I'm just going to shut my sound off on my phone. Just kind of like tickets and promissory notes, things like that. Just really, really fun. This bingo card, all to make it just look really super vintage. On the back is just this really great kind of neutral page, and this is the page that I'm going to use for the background for my memory planner pages here today. So you can just see that it's got some marking on it here, kind of like almost like a little bit of a ledger. It says carte postale there, and kind of like some water staining. Yeah, it's just a really cool vintage looking paper. So love that so much. That is beautiful. I'm going to use bits from this cut apart. This is a 4x3 cut apart page. This is SLPES Scrap 29. And on the back is just this gorgeous tone on tone, kind of like a newspaper, vintage newspaper print. So really love that as well. Super cool. And I'm going to use these two cut aparts here as mats for my photos. And I'm also going to use the inside of this one right here for backing another piece that I'll show you. I'm going to use these two as well as journaling spots on my project today. So there's lots of different ways you can use a page like this. Very, very useful. And then of course the back is just really nice neutral for lots of different uses as well. Now this next paper is really cool. This is Scrap 30 from that same series. And you've got all these different cut aparts on this side, and then another really vintage text, tone on tone kind of paper on the back. And this, and it says this here, this sheet is usable with, and then it lists the dies. Now the dies that you can use this with, I have pulled here to show you. This one is, just making sure I've got the right one. This is SLPES SCD02, so SCD02, and this is a stamp and die combination, which is really super cool. Here you can see all of the different stamped images that you can get and how they layer over top of the die cut pieces. Now, how you can also use the dies in this set is you can use them to die cut out some of the elements that are on this pattern paper. So for example, this die here is going to die cut out this piece. You just have to put it on the back and you can die cut that out. So very cool. What's another good example? This one here. This die here is going to die cut out this little envelope piece. So also really cool. So you can see there are, in this one, coordinating dies for this little banner piece and these rectangles. So this and this. And this one is SCD01. And you can see there all of the different elements. You can stamp out a calendar, and then you've got the little banner and some other stamps as well, like a little circle. You've got the numbers 0 to 9, and then some other shapes in there like stars and arrows, hearts. Very cool. Love that. The little circle die there will cut out these circles. And I'm just looking to see if there's any other ones there. I don't think so. And then this one, this die set here, which is CD09. CD09 is going to cut out a bunch of the other elements here. So this one is going to cut out the pocket. There's a large and small ticket die here. So this die here is going to cut out the larger ticket, this one. And then there's a smaller ticket to cut out that piece. There is a banner, and it's really cool because this one hole punches as well. So this little banner is going to cut out this, and it's going to cut out this for you, so that you can die cut out all of those different pieces. So there's the last one here, this die set here, which is CD08. And this one's really fun too. It's going to cut out things like these pieces here. And there's arrows, large and small, that you can cut out. There's a die for those, and there's a die for these rectangle pieces as well, so that if you want to actually die cut them out with a really precision cut, you can totally do that instead of fussy cutting those out. So that's an option. Plus these are really fun. There's all kinds of other ways you can use these. For example, CD08 cuts out the words smile, memories, love, and to do as well. So you can see how you can use these as part of your planners as well. There's lots of reinforcement dies in here and other fun little dies to create different little elements on your projects as well. So really cool. And this one has reinforcement die in it as well. Those two specifically have reinforcement dies. So that's more of the Planner Element Essentials here. Not part of the Grunge collection, but coordinate with these Essential Planner Scrap Collection papers. This is the last paper that and did I show you the other side of that? Yes, I did. And then this one here is Scrap 32. And again, just fantastic. Can die cut these pieces all out here. You can see that, not die cut, sorry, but fussy cut. Fussy cut these pieces out. I've got these all fussy cut up into a little container here so that I have all of those little bits to choose from when I'm creating. And then in another little container here, I've die cut out all of those pieces with my dies. So for example, here you can see this little envelope that is created with that die. I just need to add some adhesive to these flaps and seal that up. And here I've got just a really cute little interactive pocket that I can use. Lots of fun little tickets and banners that are cut from those dies. So very cool. Lots of layering pieces for the projects. Set those aside. So yeah, this one is scrap 32, and you can just see all of the vintage pieces that you get here. This vintage typewriter is so fun, the bingo card, some circle elements, lots of things that you can use on your different projects. So it's very cool. And then the back is really fun too. It's just all of these vintage tickets with kind of like a real distressed kind of a look. So really love that. So those are the papers I'll be using. Some other things from the Grunge collection. I have a couple of the stencils or masks as they're called. This one is mask 12, and you can just see how nicely that coordinates with the die that I showed you earlier. There's also mask 14 and mask 15 that's part of this set, and I don't have those ones, but they're very, very cool as well. And the other one that I do have from this set is this one here. This is mask 13. So yeah, the stencils masks are just really, really cool. Also, you can grab some stamps that are part of this collection too that are also really fun and coordinate so nicely with all of the different motifs and images and bits from the collection. So this one is stamp 33, and you can just see how fun that would be to create a page with and actually really a fun art journal page too. You can just see all of the different ways that this has been used on this page here. Love that. And another stamp from this same collection. This one is stamp 32. And here you can just see all the fun images there. The hand with the feather, some scribble marks, lots of really fun mark making that you can do with this stamp set. So really fun. Love those so much. So those are just more of the little elements from the Artist Atelier Grunge collection from Studio Light. And now we're going to get to making our page. Something else I forgot to show you actually from the collection are the washi tapes, which are also really awesome. So there's 2 sets of washi in this collection, at least that I have. There's this set here, and this one is Washi 04. So you can see the patterns that are part of this set here. Really cool. So this one really coordinates nicely with that pattern paper and that die that's got the numbers and the letters. This one here is wider, but you can see that it's got kind of more of the ticket motifs on it, but really super fun. And then there's a thin one that's got letters and numbers in circles. Very cool, in black. And then the other set that I have here is Washi 03. These washis are so neat. And this one, this set here has the white background with the writing, "Art is Magic." And this one here that says, "Create, Imagine." It's a little bit wider. And then a medium size, so there's 3 different widths here. Paint is only, let's just stretch this out and see what it says. This is black with white writing on it. Paint is only wasted when it stays in the tube. Every project has a bit of me in it. Love it. Okay, so I have the 2 die cut pages from that paper that I mentioned earlier that I was going to be using for my background. And what I did when I die cut these pages is I made sure that when I die cut them out, I have my die this way on my paper so that my holes are on the right side. And then I turn the die and cut my paper so that my holes are on the left. And so in that way, I now have a double page spread for my planner, and the holes need to be cut so that they're in the center. So always think about that when you're cutting out your pages. Make sure that when you're working on the facing pages that your holes are cut so that they meet in the center. And in that way, you won't be disappointed when you have your paper cut. So I cut this on the paper so that the pages are literally across from each other on the top of that 12 by 12 paper so that you can see that the line continues across the page. It doesn't have to be that way. No one's ever going to notice that. It probably is mostly going to get covered up anyways, but if that does matter to you, it's something to think about. So what I did then from that cut apart, from the 4 by 3 cut apart page, I trimmed out just by fussy cutting these 2 cards, which I think are so cool. And I'm working with vintage photos today. So I'm going to be creating with these 2 photos. And I will give you the dimensions of those if you're interested in knowing. These are, and I don't see my metric ruler. Oh, here it is. Sometimes it's easier to give it in metric. This one is, and I can convert this for you too, but this one is 5.5 centimeters, which is about 2 1/8 by 6.5 centimeters, which is about 2.5 inches. So I have 2 photos at those dimensions. And I have another photo that I'm going to use with that little pull tag. This one is about 5.5 centimeters, which is about 2.5 inches by 4 centimeters, which is about 1.5 inches, pretty close-ish. Okay, so that is the photos, and love these vintage photos. I love how they look with these papers and embellishments that I've chosen. You would not have to use vintage photos at all with these pieces. I think for what I wanted to do with this particular project, that's what I wanted to go for. Now I also trimmed out fussy cut from that 4 by 3 cut apart page, these 2 pieces here. So my plan is to layer this kind of over to the side like that so that there's a spot here for some journaling. And then with this one, I cut apart the remember, and I'm going to layer that here and put it down here. Okay, so that's what I have in mind for my layout. Love it. So anybody that's from Saskatchewan that's watching, this photo here was taken in Waskesiu. So that is in the in a Canadian national park in Saskatchewan, and it's just so fun to look at these vintage photos and really be able to sort of like appreciate what's in the background, not just the people. But this is my mom here in the center, and this is my mom here. Love these photos so much. These are not the original pictures, by the way. These are photos of photos. So I just take my iPhone and I take a picture of the vintage photo, and then I put it into Lightroom and I adjust it, and then I print it on my Epson PictureMate photo printer. And that way I can size it to the exact size that I want and so on. But these actually, they kind of do look like the original photos, but they're definitely not. Now I did pick out a few pieces of ephemera from the fussy cut paper that I might use on my project there. What I also plan to use over on this side is that pocket. So this was from one of those dies, and that page that I was showing you, you can die cut the elements out using the dies. So I think that's really super fun. I love the pattern detail that's on that pocket. I think it's really cool. I also am going to use a couple of these little banner pieces that were also cut using the dies. I've chosen out a few pieces of ephemera. Again, these are from the fussy cut paper that I thought would be really cool to use on my page. And I've also got some vintage photo distress ink and a distress ink brush, just because I like to edge things to make them look even a little bit more interesting. So I am going to die cut out that pull tab piece, and we're going to get working on building this page, these pages. This is the paper that I'm going to use to die cut that pull tab piece. And I've decided that I actually want to do some stamping on this paper before I go ahead and die cut this out. So this is my Studio Light stamp press. This is a fantastic repositionable stamping tool. Love it so much. It works really well. Now I've decided that I'm going to go ahead and use one of these grunge stamps to do some stamping on my paper so that this is going to show when I have that all die cut out. I'm not too worried about this being the right direction, because I'm actually I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to stamp it in some wonky directions and fill in the other space on my paper as I go. Now, as I'm thinking about this, I'm probably going to stamp this in black. But if you want it to be a little more subtle, you could watermark it. You could do this with a Versamark ink. You could do it with, you could stamp this with a lighter ink like a gray, or you could even use, and maybe we should do that. Maybe we should use the vintage photo, but I feel like I do want it to be, there are pops of black here and there. So I'm thinking I'm going to use black. Now you could use some of the pattern paper to cut this out. I'm choosing to use a heavier paper, this craft cardstock, just because it's going to just be a little bit more durable as that element is opened and closed over time. And if you've got a pressure tool, you can use your pressure tool to help you push your stamp press down as well. Super fun. If you want to fill those in, you want to make sure they're all filled in. It's just because it didn't get pressed in that spot. So you can just go back and press that in. Love that. I think that looks super cool. And now I'm just looking at that, and I am just going to clean that. Just cleaning that with a baby wipe. Now I'll take that one off. And let's see here. Use this one. This is kind of like a dot. And now we can move our paper a little bit here. And some of this is not, you know, like I don't know exactly where I'm going to put my die when I put my die down on the paper. So some of this might not be showing, which is fine. It's totally okay. Okay, so I'm just going to keep doing that on this paper just to give it some pattern. Okay, so I'm really happy with the pattern that I have on here, and just going to place this on here to try to catch a little bit of all of the different patterns that I've put on there. And a lot of this is going to get cut out and won't be part of it, but that's fine. But we will end up with some pattern on our whole piece. I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine, and that's going to give me my pull tab element. Okay, so I have this all die cut out. I think it turned out really cool with that stamping on it. Looks really neat. I've also used 3 other dies from that same die set. These 3 here to cut out these other coordinating elements that go along with this piece. So these ones I'm going to use one to back my photo, and another one for another part of the inside. But this die is really cool because it scores the paper where it needs to be folded. So that makes it super easy to fold this up. Then you can just take your bone folder and press down on those folds to make sure that they're nice and crisp. And then here you can just see there's another fold line there that's scored to fold this up. And there's another score line here that just needs to be folded over and scored as well. Okay. So now what we're going to do on this little fold here on that flap is we're going to adhere this piece to the back. Okay. So that when this is pulled, it's going to pull on this piece here. Now you can see there's another score line there that needs to be a mountain fold so that it goes up. And then this is going to fold up like that when the tab is pulled. So the only thing that we need to do to complete this element as part of this pull tab segment is to use a little bit of double-sided adhesive to stick this onto this. Okay, so just going to grab my double-sided adhesive. I've just got a really thin 1/8 of an inch adhesive here, and I'm going to apply that to the little flap area. I don't want to go over. I want to just make sure that that's just to the very edge. I think it's a little bit long here. Just want to make sure. Just going to trim that off a tiny little bit. I just tore that off a little bit too long. And now I'm just going to take and burnish that down, make sure that that's on there really well. I'm going to take the backer off of that. Then we're just going to take this and we're just going to center it over top. But make sure that it's just right at the edge there. Okay, so that this much is sticking out. I'll really press that in. And then we're going to adhere this together on that flap there so that when it's all together, we simply just pull that and it releases. I liked the contrast of the white. If you want this to blend in more with the outer edges of the pocket, you could totally cut that out of craft. I just thought that it was a little bit of a nice contrast having a little bit of that white on there, because I do have some white in some other areas here on the edges of my photos. For example, my photo mat over here is going to be white, so but it's just personal choice, whatever it is that you like the looks of. So then we're also going to take a little bit of that same 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape and add that to this flap as well. I like using double-sided tape on parts like this just because it's super, super sticky. And I know that it's going to stay put. And these elements in my memory planners, whether it's December Daily mini album or these memory planner pages, whatever, wherever there's an interactive element like this, I personally think really strong adhesive is very important, because these albums get looked at a lot by my family and they really like these little interactive elements. How cute, right? So now what we're going to do is, you have a decision to make. You can either put the photo inside or on the tab. I'm going to put mine on the tab. So I'm going to put my photo on here. And then I'm going to use this little element for inside to do some journaling. I can take this down to my vintage typewriter and type up some journaling on there just because I think that makes it look all the more vintage. Okay, so I have just taken that photo and adhered it to the tab. I did use a little bit of the vintage photo on the mat, on the photo mat, and it also reveals some journaling that I typed up on my vintage typewriter. When I type on my vintage typewriter, I don't worry about capitalization. Sometimes there's spelling mistakes. I don't care. It's all part of the whimsy and the character and the charm. And I did actually use some vintage photo around the edges of the white paper in there as well. But just, you know, for the sake of information, I did not make any spelling mistakes on this particular piece, but it has happened. But there isn't any, I didn't capitalize anything. I don't bother with it just because it's a little bit more cumbersome to type on a vintage typewriter. My typewriter is a Smith Corona, and I think it's a 1958 or something like that. It's a super silent, Smith Corona super silent. I love it. Okay, so that is all finished and really, really like how that turned out. So that element is ready to go for the right side. And I see I've got a little bit of ink on my table, so I'm just gonna wipe that off and get ready to go with the left side of our book. So we're gonna start working on this left side to get this put together. So I don't feel like I need a whole bunch of extra matting and detail with this. I think it looks good just like that. Probably gonna add this with some dimensional adhesive to the actual page, but this piece here, I'm just going to, or this photo, I'm just going to go ahead and adhere right to this card. And then I'm probably gonna take this and do a little bit of the inking to the edges, just to give it that little bit of extra. And you know what, if you're not a lover of vintage photo, you could do this with any color of ink or any ink that you have in your stash, or if you're using a completely different collection of papers and you want to have this, make this less vintage looking, you definitely can just use a complementary color of ink, whatever it might be. Okay. And I'm just going to grab some foam tape here. This is just some 3M foam tape. And before I stick that down, I am going to get this guy stuck down on my page. Try to get it over as close to those holes as I can. I just want to make sure I feel like that's on there straight. Looks pretty good. And get this stuck down. There, I love that. I'm going to do the exact same thing with this bottom area. Now these little pieces that I'm going to use to layer here are for the journaling, and those are little pieces that I die cut from that pattern paper with the dies that are meant to die cut those out. And I like these little bits just because like it's going to give me the placement that I want for the journaling in those areas. And I'm going to adhere these on flat because I'm going to do some handwriting on here as well. And I like to add some handwriting onto my projects just because I feel like it just adds a little bit more of a personal touch for my family when they're looking back at this, at these vintage photos of their grandma. And then what this allows is for a little bit of embellishing here to the side. So the reason why I'm adding these over to the side here is because I want to do some layered embellishments here right next to the photos. So now I've got an exact spot. I know where I'm going to put the journaling here. I don't have a ton to write about these photos, but I just want to put a little bit in. And I do have all of these little die cut pieces here at the ready to use for all of these little different elements as I'm going along. So I like to get these all ready to go. And then what I don't use, I'll put into a little bag and store with the rest of these different products. So I do have a few little bits that I had chosen out that I wanted to use for embellishing here. I thought these were really super cute. And of course, I'm going to add these on with a little bit of foam adhesive. Probably about like that. I think that looks good. And then we can just layer as we go and find some other little different elements to add in as we go along here. So just going to grab some foam adhesive. I'm going to put it over to the side rather than right on the photo. Just going to grab it and add it on here. And then I'm going to grab this little heart, which I think is super cute. Now this heart, and I could have done that with the ticket too. Actually going to get my distressing tool. I might pick that up and do this too because I forgot to do this, but just do a little bit of distressing on the edges just to give it a little bit more of an aged look. It's kind of fun to do that on your different little elements that you're adding in. Nice to distress at first before you add that. That added on. I love that. Love the inking. Just think it looks really cool. That's just my brush hitting the floor. And I don't want to cover up any of the photo that's going to matter. So I'm just going to kind of move this around as I need to make room for that little heart. I like that. And I'm probably going to add another little bit of foam adhesive underneath here as well, just to keep that secured. Okay, so that's how I'm going to go about embellishing this beside the photos. Okay, so this page is all finished. I'm ready to go into the planner. I just have to add the journaling so you can just see how nice and symmetrical this is. We've got, you know, the journaling, a little bit of embellishment here, our photos, which are basically about the same distance from the top and the bottom and the sides. So that is ready, and I've placed that in my Studio Light planner, which I absolutely love, 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 love. And this is, I use my planner as a memory planner. Studio Light does have different sizes of these books. Please make sure you check the links in the description box below where I have linked to those planners. Okay, so now we've got, of course, we've got that element ready to go. And I'm going to put this pocket down at the bottom. Now I want to adhere this onto my page with some foam adhesive. And I can use this in some places. Just take my Teflon scissors so that the adhesive doesn't stick to them. I'll put a strip there. And I'll put another strip here. little strip on that side. Here, get that all ready to go. Just take that release paper off the back. And we're going to actually, before I stick that down, and I should have done this first, but it's all good. Remember to do it before I stuck it. Oh, dang it. Hang on. Okay, so I picked up my ink and I'm all ready to go. I did edge this pocket with the ink, which I like the looks of. I'm going to take these two little banners and I'm going to use them behind here for extra little elements for journaling. And now I'm going to go ahead and stuff the pocket with all of these different little bits that will look really fun in there. So this little suitcase element is really fun. I feel like it needs a little bit more trimming. But the fun part of adding all these little bits into the pocket is then you can go in and you can add photos to the back of them. You can add journaling to them, whatever you would like to do, right? So you can just, if you like the distress look, you can distress, tear, fold, whatever you would like to do. Kind of make it look really vintagey. You can even, you know, bend it, do whatever you want to make it look like it fits with your page. Again, here, these pieces, I like to distress the edges of these as well. This piece I thought would look really fun somewhere around the side, maybe there-ish, something like that. But yeah, all these little bits that are fussy cut from that paper, the fussy cut paper, you can just take, and here you can just see how the vintage photo just makes them look even more vintage. Yeah, you don't need the distressing tool. You can use your finger, or you can use the edge of a scissor for that matter. But I like to put the bigger, the taller pieces in the back, and they can get stuffed in like that. And the smaller pieces, like these little postcard pieces here, super fun. I love these, and I love the quality of the paper. It's not super thin, but it's not too thick either. It's just a really nice weight for working with for all of these different little things that you might want to do here. So yeah, you can just take pop in as many of these different little elements into the pocket as you want. Okay, so here is our finished book. I love how it looks. I did put some of the reinforcements onto the page here. I used one of the dies and I cut out the reinforcements here from this stamped paper that was left over. And I've got those adhered down. Those reinforcements are cut using this die set here, which is CD02. So there's a tiny little die that cuts out these little stitched reinforcement elements. Love that. I put this little hand fussy cut piece here just to indicate that there's a pull tab there. Behind here, of course, we have the banners, but I also put this little element here. So this is just one of the die cut pieces, And this is one of the die cut pieces too that creates the little envelope. And there's just a little element that I've stuffed in there. I put another one of the fussy cut embellishments on here, and I've added some washi tape. So I added some washi tape here. I added some washi here and also here, just to add a little bit of extra interest and detail because I can. So that's cool. That's fun. Love how this turned out so much. I hope you were inspired to do maybe a vintage layout, or maybe think about using a different format of memory keeping. I love this size. I love my memory planner. It is one of my most favorite ways to document memories in my creative space, and love this so much. So make sure you do check the links in the description box below to Studio Light products that you can pick up at Ecstasy Crafts. There's also a coupon code there. If you have not used my coupon code before, please go ahead and do so. And I will see you another time, my friends. Take care, stay safe, stay well. Bye-bye.